You don't just want to say, it's weird because in clinicals, we're used to going through an HPI, going through and saying, this is the patient, this is the physical exam, this is the lab values, this is what I think it is, this is what I want to do. None of that. This is a personal statement. So it's a different way to look at a patient. This is really narrative medicine. You tell the story of what happened. Put us in your shoes, or like a fly in the wall. What happened? What was the impact of that experience on you? And how are you going to grow, or how did you grow from that experience? And I love this quote from Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. I thought this was important because these traits show up over and over throughout your different activities, throughout different patient encounters. You really want to demonstrate that this wasn't just a one-time situation. It wasn't one time I showed empathy or one time I was an advocate. We want to see that these traits are mentioned throughout the activities, the personal statement, the letter of recs. We want to see that this is who you are. It's not just a trait that you grabbed off this list of traits. Let's go through a quick personal statement outline. Now, it doesn't have to be like this. This is just a general outline to get your ideas flowing. So just like basic high school, college, hook. This can be a patient example, a lived experience, a meaningful event. Think about who your reader is. Usually it is a program director, an assistant program director, and different attendings. They're all people that have been in the medical field. Now, very rarely you do get a lay person, like a patient. I did have that one time in one of my interviews. They had a patient interview me and read my personal statement. But don't plan for that. Just think about your audience is someone who knows about medicine, who's read these before. I guess in that sense, don't do the typical things. Think about in pre-med, everyone put in the personal example of, I've always wanted to be a doctor since I was a kid, or this person died and I want to be a doctor after this, or I had this surgery and that's what made me want to be a surgeon. Yes, if that is true, okay, but make it more unique. Come on, you've had now 4 years in medical school, or even more in clinical care if you did other things before. Bring in those real life experiences and more recent ones. The next couple of paragraphs. What are my strengths and what I've done to demonstrate one? Next is why me? This can include what values do I possess that I will bring to your residency or to that specialty, to medicine. Why this specialty? How do our values align? Because I just talked in the previous paragraph maybe about my own values. I want to next talk about the values that I found in that type of specialty. So that is part of it. I have another worksheet about how to figure out what are the different values or traits that this specific specialty possesses. If you look at Dr. Glockenflecken's videos, they're pretty accurate, aren't they? Every single specialty has their own personality, has their own things that they value that are important to them. Grab onto those values. Next, how will you, or I guess how will I contribute to this residency or specialty? That's the next paragraph. Last paragraph, you want to summarize what you said. We started off by talking about a patient example, maybe bring back that patient example, bring back maybe you talked about the values and strength, circle it all together, put a bow on it of this is who I am and this is why you should remember me and offer me an interview so I can tell you more. I loved what one of the doctors told me once when I was doing my application. They said, I want to come away from this personal statement and write a summary sentence, like elevator pitch of who you are. So think about, what is my elevator pitch? That 1-2 sentence of who I am and why I'll be a good resident at this specialty or at your program. Now, there's a question I've had. Do you write a different personal statement for every single program? You can. I almost did that. It gets really stressful because you have to make sure you put in the right name for every single specialty, right city. Since I was dual applying, I already had to make sure I did a family medicine and a psychiatry one. Granted, that's just two, but I had to make sure every single program, because you select every single personal statement and every single letter of rec for every single program.